So you've done all the writing, drawing, lettering, inking, you've assembled the pages, sent it off to a printer, waited nervously for a few days, and then, finally, got to hold your completed comic book in your own hands. Only to then realise that by putting it out into the real world, strangers will laugh at you, your friends will pretend that they never knew you, and your family will be ashamed of you. Even more than usual, I mean. That's what I always suspected would happen to me, anyway. But let's be real here, that was a fear talking. And now, after years on the sidelines, I finally put that fear to one side, and I'm back here to tell you about my experience selling Dope Meat comics both in real life and online. Let's get into it. Back in July, I pitched up at Forbidden Planet in Leicester for Small Press Day, an annual event where comic shops let small press creators take over. I was one of about a dozen creators there, and it was a great event. The staff at Forbidden Planet were super friendly. They kept on offering us drinks and biscuits throughout the day and just checking in to see how we were doing. And because it's such a cool shop, it got an awful lot of footfall as well. I arrived a little later than planned. It was one of those days when time just disappeared, but fortunately I had a minimal setup, which we'll come back to in a bit. By blind luck, I was sat next to my friend in the scene, Ryan Button, an illustrator who makes awesome posters and cards based on sci-fi franchises, including Transformers, which again we will come back to in a bit. My biggest fear was I wouldn't sell anything at all, the ultimate rejection by my peers. But that was dispelled within about 30 minutes as I made my first sale of the day, a copy of Zero Productivity. This actually turned out to be my biggest seller of the day, which was a surprise. I mean, I'm very proud of it, but as it's a few years old, it doesn't really represent who I am as a creator now. It's more a window into who I was then. So with this being the biggest seller, I guess it asks the question, have I become less commercially appealing as I've gotten older? You be the judge. Hit like and subscribe and drop a comment down below to tell me what you think. The main event was supposed to be the special Small Press Day edition of Dope Meat Comics issue 1, which sold reasonably well. Now by special edition, I mean that I didn't get the full issue finished in time, so I printed the 8 pages I had and added a free sticker to the cover. Even though it's not got everything that I wanted to include in there, I'm still really proud of this one. It feels like the clearest statement of who I am as a creator today. The Collected Dope Meat Volume 1 is a compilation of my favourite strips from my older comics. This sold better than the Small Press Day special, which goes to show the difference that putting collected on the cover can make. I also think this is one of the coolest covers that I've ever made, so there's that as well. Then we had Annual Entitlement, an hourly comic from 2023 that sold maybe 1 or 2 copies. It wasn't a hit, put it that way. Moving on to something a little different, we then had my Shake sticker, which did sell, but not quite as much as I thought it might. It was a good conversation starter though, and a few people let me know that they really liked it. Finally, we have the Afterlife Crisis mini-comic that I focused on a few videos ago, which I mostly gave away and swapped with the other artists. So that was how Small Press Day went. I sold more than enough to cover my costs, but more importantly, I've finally gotten Dope Meat comics out there into the world. Selling comics in real life then, what did I learn from the experience? First of all, presentation matters. On the one hand, that means table layout, and as you've probably noticed, I've got a lot of room to improve there. I just didn't have time to work on this properly, so decided to let the work speak for itself. Which brings us on to the second and most important element of presentation, which is the comics themselves. People perceive size as value. 28 pages, Zero Productivity here is my biggest book by far. When compared to this, Annual Entitlement just doesn't stack up, and even though both were priced accordingly, Zero Productivity sold considerably more. However, before people are thinking about page count, they're considering the cover, and that brings up another problem that you might have already noticed. Having 2 different comics called Dope Meat and a third that isn't called Dope Meat but only has Dope Meat written on the cover is confusing for people. I get it now, and I saw that confusion up close when people came to browse the table. I've made these books as individual items without ever thinking about how they would look as a collected series of products, and if I'm going to be serious about making and selling comics, that's something that I'm going to need to put some serious thought into.
They're up for sale if you want them.
Big thanks to Mr. Fowler for asking in the comments on the last video where someone might be able to get these comics if they're not in Leicester, because that has teed me up nicely to introduce dopemeat.bigcartel.com, the new online store for all things Dope Meat. It's a tad basic, but it does a minimum it needs to do. It lets you take a look at the products and buy them, and I don't think it needs to do any more than that. But if you got any other ideas, then let me know. So that's dopemeat.bigcartel.com for all your dopest, meatest needs. Meatest. So what else have I been up to? The weekend after Small Press Day was TF Nation, Europe's biggest Transformers convention and my favourite event of the year. I've been feeling increasingly burned out this year, to the point that I had to take a couple of days off of work a few weeks ago just to rest up and try and recover. In that context, having TF Nation to look forward to and be able to enjoy with no pressure whatsoever was just amazing. It was also creatively invigorating. After spending so long focused on comics over the last couple of months, I've been half expecting a hard ADHD snap back to filmmaking or one of my other many interests, but to my surprise it just hasn't happened. Seeing people like Ryan, David Cousins, Jim Stafford and many others finding creative inspiration in those big robot toys is a great reminder to just keep combining my skills with things I'm passionate about. If I do that, I don't think I'll ever get bored. So that's all for today. It's not been a bad month, has it? From finally selling my comics at a small press event, through to launching my web store, through to getting creatively reinvigorated through Transformers. I have managed to pack quite a lot into this period of burnout. Yeah, thinking about it, that could explain a lot, actually. Huge thanks to Sandra and Reese and the team at Forbidden Planet in Leicester for putting on such a great Small Press Day event. It was an honour to be part of it and had a really fun time, so thank you very much. And thanks to you as well for watching and making it this far into a video. You are a fine and upstanding member of humanity for having done so. If you want to check out the web shop, then there are links in the description below, or alternatively you can just go to dopemeat.com, my homepage, and follow the link from there. Don't forget to like and subscribe, especially if you're new here, and I'll see you next time.